Hey guys, welcome back to Canadian Gears. This is a very special episode for us. This is part 3 of the interview with the 57 Chev and Horace Urbaniak, the owner. This was a very special interview, we found out later, because we didn't, throughout the interview, Horace had made reference to his wife and his family, how they spent many, many years together in the car. Driving around, the States and Canada and going to all the car shows and going to dances, and they'd do hip-hop dances together. They'd get dressed up and go anywhere with the car and play the parts from the 50s when they met and everything. But I didn't know that Horace lost his wife a couple of years ago. So we felt it's only fit for us to pay homage to his wife after this video, and you will see that at the end. We have some pictures of Horace and his wife and everything. So not only was this car an iconic car for a lot of people, it was an iconic car for him and his family as well. Him and his wife ran the 567 business together, where they were selling new parts for 55, 56, 57 Chevys. So they spent a lot of time together running the business, going to different car shows, promoting the business, and spending a lot of time in the car as well. They'd go to these hip-hop dances and get dressed up like the 1950s and do all this stuff together. As he mentioned, raising the kids in the car's only going to be passed on to family members, etc. It goes to show how there can be a connection when one's passions come together and they make something out of it. And I think this car has a very special place in some people's heart, and you will see at the end how it really did touch Horace and his wife in a very, very deep way. Even though it's just a machine, there can be a connection somewhere when you turn that into a passion and you do things together. So stay tuned after the interview as we pay homage to Horace's wife. Horace, I want to thank you personally from the bottom of my heart for sharing your story with me, for writing all the emails, and this one goes out to you, my friend. Talk to you soon.
Blah 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 blah.
Hey guys, we're back and we're here again with the 57. We're going to do some more chatting about this thing because it really is a phenomenal piece. This car has a lot of stories to tell. Now Horace, you were saying that you and your wife enjoyed this car a lot.
Yep.
So you got a lot of memories in this thing. So you're really not planning on getting rid of this anytime soon. You want to fix it up and keep it going, right?
It's gonna stay in the family.
It's gonna stay in the family.
Yeah.
That's very important that you do that. So carry the heritage on. Yeah. Now in the 57, what other options did this car have that some of the other cars didn't have?
Well, power brakes.
Oh.
And these are stock vacuum assisted power brakes that are in the car. They're 4-wheel drum brakes.
Okay.
And here you have your vacuum booster.
Mm-hmm.
It's fed vacuum off the back of the carburetor with a check valve here. And there's a vacuum reservoir here. And this vacuum reservoir was here so that in the event you lost your engine, you had 2 reserves of brake application.
Really?
To stop the car.
So you can apply the brake twice.
If the engine, roughly 2 times.
Wow.
In event you needed to stop the car.
Now I'm also seeing here, I'm looking at this master cylinder compared to today's vehicles where you got all the ABS and you got 20 million brake lines coming out. You have one single brake line going in there.
That's the Achilles heel on these cars. One single brake line feeds all 4 wheel cylinders, and if you lose a brake line or a brake hose, you've got no brakes. So that's why they call the park brake, what they call the park brake today, used to call it the emergency brake.
Now it's called
the park brake. So
very interesting.
I mean, for safety's sake and upgrades, I've lost the brakes on this twice, where I've driven pulled out kind of hot from a stop sign and go to stop, and all of a sudden pedal goes to the floor, and I've managed to stop it and not cause a collision. But for safety's sakes, I'm going to convert this to disc brakes with a dual master cylinder this winter.
And you can do that with just modern parts, and they've got conversion kits.
Conversion kits. I used to sell them in my business, and they're straight bolt-on. I mean, they don't look stock, but for safety's sake, I drive this car all the time, and I don't want to kill
especially
anybody.
when you're doing a mileage like that.
Absolutely.
You want to do it. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Now,
Now I'm going to have a seat in here because I'm looking at this thing and I'm looking at these plush seats. So you've got you don't they're not buckets. So you've got the bench seats in the front and the back, and then you get in here and you've got this really big steering wheel over here. Yes, this is quite the car to drive. It's pretty.
Without the big steering wheel, and if you just had the big steering wheel and without power steering, you needed that mechanical advantage to be able to turn these things, especially when stopped with the old nylon tires, and they were just a bear to steer.
Really, it's still I'm looking at still a very large car. It's very wide. It's very comfortable.
Yeah.
Seats now. Has the interior ever been reupholstered at any point? Do you know?
Yeah, it was restored in 1987, I believe.
Okay.
Just before I bought it.
Before you bought it.
Yeah.
And you bought it in '89.
Yeah.
Now I've noticed too. You've got some fender skirts down here.
Yes, they were.
You added those on.
I added those on.
That's a really nice look. You know, it gives you that antique, classy look at the same time.
Yes, these are flush mount skirts, and they're an aftermarket company called Foxcraft.
Okay.
Built those and made those, and they also had what they call a bubble skirt or a cruiser skirt.
Okay.
And it was a much longer skirt. It came out to about here. It was about that big, and it filled the whole quarter panel.
Oh, really?
And I mean, they look cool.
Aerodynamic sort of look, eh?
Yeah, the long, low sled look, you know. And but I prefer to keep this stock. I've also got a pair of these in stainless steel.
Oh wow! So that must look really shiny.
Yeah.
So you go to car shows with this thing? And
I take it.
Travel around
all over the place with it. Yeah.
Now the roof, is it power assisted or is this a manual roof?
It's power assisted.
It really and it still works.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Everything works.
Here's the top button right here.
Oh yeah, look at that, eh?
Yeah.
And I can see the overdrive handle over here. If we get a shot of that, there we talked about the overdrive earlier. You get a shot of this dash and show the people what we have over here. Now this obviously a lot of people will think, oh, you know, it only did 120 kilometers an hour. No, this is in miles per hour. This was before we turned the metric in Canada. So just for you younger viewers here might not know, in Canada we were still using the imperial system. We moved over to that in the late 60s, I believe it was, or early 70s. Another big feature about this car is the spare tire. This is just a classic look for these cars, you know. But I think there was some sort of functionality to having this spare over here, wasn't there? Can you explain that?
Yes. Manufacturers came out with this as an accessory. You could either get installed at the dealer or order directly from the factory. And the thought behind it was that we want people to be more mobile. Everybody's traveling more, so we need more trunk space for suitcases and so forth.
Yeah, because these, I remember looking at some of these where the tire, they didn't have an embedded hole. The tire was sitting up front, and like on the top, sort of in the trunk, right there, is exposed, right?
Yeah, and so what they did was they put this Continental kit out. Oh, it's stuck in my trunk. Yeah, there it is.
Quite the first. Oh, okay, so it just flips down.
It just flips back, and then you have your trunk access and the full trunk. Sorry, the trunk is dirty, but that's where the
it actually stood up over here.
Up in there, yeah.
So it took up all this room.
Yeah.
Where you could be laying stuff down. You could be doing all sorts. Really?
Yeah.
Now these are BF Goodrich Silvertown tires. Now obviously you can still buy these, right? These must be a special order, or
Coker out of Tennessee makes they reproduce the classic tires for these.
Now are they still a bias ply or are they a radial?
Well, this is a bias ply, and the reason it's a bias ply is it's an original size, I think 750/14. Yeah, 750/14 4-ply. Oh, the reason it's a bias ply is that the radials are a little too wide and they won't fit in the spare tire in the Continental kit.
Oh.
So everybody with a Continental kit is looking for an original tire to put in there.
Just for looks.
Yeah, but the tires I have on the car are Coker BF Goodrich radials.
So
with a
they're
3-inch wide white wall.
So they're not made by BF Goodrich, but I guess they have the molds. Is that what it is?
I believe so. I'm not 100% sure.
So this would be something like the company year one, where you got these manufactured fenders, but they came from the original stamps and stuff like that.
Yeah,
something like that.
Something like that. Yeah.
For those of you who don't know year one, a lot of these classic car guys, when they're restoring and they want an original fender, there is a company called Year One, and what they've done is they've bought out a lot of the stamps from Ford, GM, and Chrysler. You know, you have an old Barracuda or something, you want to buy the fender, well, you go to these guys and they reproduce them because they're made from the authentic stamps. And that's probably something like what this tire company is doing, is they brought the rubber molds and they're making the tires and you know, stuff like that, and they're selling them. And this is cool. So you're saying that a lot of the parts are easily accessible for this car, right?
You can today. I mean, back in the day when I first got into the 5.6.7s, there wasn't very much out there for reproduction parts.
Yeah.
Today, you can virtually buy a complete body, a convertible body, with fenders, doors, hood, trunk lid on it, and pick up a frame or build a custom chassis and build yourself a car.
So you have a kit car, sort of a kit car.
Most of the parts, a majority of all these parts are available now. They're being reproduced.
Really?
Yeah, they've come a long way. They've come a long way. I believe my last quote on a 57 body was all steel body was $38,000 to a customer. And that's just a bare body.
That's impressive, guys. This is a very rare machine, especially when they're being driven around like that. Would you mind giving her a start up for us? We'd like to hear her before we head out.
No problem.
We'll go back here and listen to the sound of these old carbureted engines and what they get to sound like. What an absolute beauty. Guys, we want to thank Horst over here for coming out and showing us his vehicle. This is absolutely amazing. We'll see you guys next time. We'll be back some other time, man. Cheers.